Catia, I'm a Portuguese artist. Today is the 23rd of May and we are at my studio space in Kensington, our city campus. I spent a lot of time with my grandparents in Portugal. My grandparents from my dad's side, they always worked the land for other people, so I always accompanied my grandfather when he went to the farm to work, and also spent a lot of time with my grandmother as she was preparing food or assisting also with anything that needed to be done, caring for the chickens, for the animals, and preparation of foods, vegetables, like getting the peas out of the pea pods. So all of that was a big part. So the work that I'm doing now, it's very inspired by those experiences, and food preparation, traditional Portuguese food preparation. It's a big topic that I am exploring. Another thing that is a big influence is the aspect of the monstrous feminine. Basically, I explore different representations of the feminine, because growing up with my grandparents and seeing my grandmothers, how they assisted and how they worked the land and how they did all of these things. Like my grandmother would kill the chickens, do the plucking, all of these tasks were done. She was very strong, she could carry like a lot of waste. So it's not this kind of typical feminine representation. I was used to seeing all of these other ways of being a woman, of being female. And that really inspired me to explore the monstrous or the other ways to represent femininity through my work. So at the moment, these are kind of the two main things that I've been exploring, and I've been looking a lot at the definitions around what it is to be monstrous, how to build a monster, what are the characteristics of a monster, and all of that. And then, yes, looking at the food preparation methods and techniques and seeing how I could subvert or distort these preparation methods in order to use food and change the meaning of food to kind of make my own monster. So my monster would then assimilate all the characteristics that I saw in my grandmothers, their strength, the way they were able to kill the animals, the way they were able to carry a lot of weight and do a lot of very difficult tasks. And then also the food they prepare, but then being able to represent that not as in the traditional caring or nurturing way, but as a way to potentially create a sense of threat, a sense of dread, and originate fear, as in they being able to use that as a weapon, no longer as the familiar, and in that way creating this monster that performs in this way, that uses the traditional domestic environment and the things we are used to seeing as nurture, care, being transformed then into instruments for the monster to act and to revolt in the kitchen. That's it. The influences or the artists. So I quite liked surrealist painters from the 70s, female surrealists. So like Leonora Carrington and the other contemporaries of that time. Then I really like to look at folklore and stories of horror, but unusual horror. So Kirsty Logan is a writer that I really like. Her stories are usually on the dark side horror, but very unusual ways of transmitting horror, which is very interesting. I always find lots of inspiration from there. What else? There's a Portuguese artist, Paula Hegel, which I feel like a very strong influence from her because of the way she represented women as well. And then in general, other feminist artists. For this kind of work at the moment, mostly I was looking at Judy Chicago, the dinner table, and then obviously there's other influences coming up, but mostly for this specific work will be around the ones that I mentioned. Yeah, biggest challenge. I would say being working class student and artist, my biggest challenge is obviously opportunity and financial security. I always have to have something else, so I have to have work on the side, maybe not always art related work, but just to be able to then afford to live. So that's kind of the biggest challenge. Anyway, in terms of advice for my younger self, I remember that I kind of gave up on my dreams when I was about 17, 18, because I was told that obviously in Portugal being an artist is not really an option if you're not from a very wealthy family. So when I mentioned that's what I wanted to do, I basically got, nope, let's find something else. And then obviously I had to put everything away and try to fit into other potential roles which never worked out. And although it felt like at the time, oh, I just build myself in a different way, I'll go and do something that my family will support, that never really happened because I wasn't able to stick with that. So my advice would be to not put all the dreams away at 18. Keep working on it, and yeah, we'll get there eventually. I'm here now. It took a much longer route than what I expected. Well, I didn't expect to be here at all doing this, and I am now. So just want to let my younger self know that we'll get there eventually. I mean, not so unconventional, but unusual items. So this is a lemon. So I took a trip to the street where I grew up in with my grandparents, which is now blocked and about to be demolished. So I visited the space because there was these trees in that space that were made, so they're hybrid trees, so they give out both lemons and oranges from the same tree. And I really always was inspired by that because they're not the usual lemon or orange trees. They're not supposed to be very bountiful. They're very they're small and strange. They just resist all type of weather, so they've been there just surviving basically for the last 10 years without any care, without any support from humans, and they're still providing the fruits. So I took a lemon, which I scanned and now 3D printed. So there's one of the 3D prints. I'm not sure yet what I will do, but I want this to be kind of, well, I envision it as being the egg to give life to this work. Although it's a lemon, it symbolizes the birth of the work. And I will try to paint it, and I want to attach actual eggshells to it to give the eggshell exterior so that it will represent the birth of my work. So this is my egg. And another unusual object, so because I am exploring a lot of the traditional Portuguese food preparations, one of the recipes, this one, this one is done using an actual hog's bladder, which then they fill up with a preparation of flour, blood, sugar. It's to make something that is sweet, and then it's cooked inside the bladder. So I wanted to use that, so I got, well, I didn't find hog's bladder, but I found cow's bladder, which I then filled up. And this is the mold of the actual thing, because that lasts for only a very little amount of time before it starts to decompose. So this is the mold of the bladder, and now from this I am making them into bronze sculpture, so that's underway at the moment at the foundry. Yeah, I think that's it. For unusual methods. From this work now I will be using food preparation methods and recipes quite a lot. So whatever I extract from the recipes, I will try to use the same method but with other materials in my work. That's kind of how I plan to be doing this. In terms of what I listen to, usually depends on what I'm doing. So if I'm painting, I usually listen to this Portuguese rapper because I really like her work. Her name is Capicua. If I'm doing other things that I need to focus, I need kind of this just soundtrack for absolute focusing, or instead of that one I use the writing horror soundtrack, which really brings the mood out for if I'm like painting watercolors or writing anything, then I use that. Yeah, best reaction for me, the one that I kind of enjoyed the most, was moms taking their kids away in horror, covering their eyes. That was my favorite because obviously it's a very strong reaction. But also when I had the exhibition last year, I seemed to anger quite a lot of young men for some reason. They did not like the depiction of the women in my painting. They seemed to get very angry because they apparently looked disgusting. So that was interesting to see how much it revolted them, even though that wasn't the intention at all. I think in terms of takeaway, I want people to feel empowered by the work, and I think it just opens kind of other possibilities into what work and feminist work can be. There isn't much other than that. It's basically creating a sense of power and opening discussions and allowing for certain other feelings that we try to kind of repress as women. So you don't usually see a lot of representations of women who may be angry or violent, and I want to open space for that. But other than that, it's just kind of allowing the work to exist because it can, and I make the work because I am here, I have the space and I can do it. So through that, allowing myself, I hope to allow others to feel inspired and do the same.